Oh, crap. Buenos días. Buenos días y bienvenidos, mi gente. Good morning and welcome. I'm the Reverend Katie Romano Griffin. My pronouns are she or ella. I am one of the ministers blessed to serve this religious community, and I want you to know that even though we gather from different places and different times, different spaces and different devices, in person and online, as a religious community united in our commitment to make love work in our lives and in our world.
Good morning. I'm Iris DelaPaz, the Youth and Young Adult Program Coordinator. My pronouns are she, her, and they, them. Welcome to Cedar Lane. We gather as we've gathered for over 70 years on the traditional lands of the Nacotchtank people, from which the name Anacostia is derived. They are part of the Piscataway group of tribes. We honor them with gratitude and the land itself and the people who have protected it throughout the generations.
Thank you, Iris, for that acknowledgement. We also gather in remembrance of those who were enslaved and worked this land without choice or reward. We gather in gratitude for all who've gone before, whose love and labor helped create and sustain the mission and ministry of this multi-generational religious community.
Thank you for taking the time and the risk to worship with us today. If you are new or you feel new, you are invited to complete the newcomer form that will be linked in the chat. And also, I think Nicole is here, so she will also, let's see. If you have been attending for a while and are interested in becoming a member of this religious community, please reach out to Nicole Singer, our membership coordinator.
And if you're new today and you want to raise your hand, Nicole has a cute little gift bag for you. Our pastoral visitors are an extension of the ministry team. Tim Persons is today's pastoral visitor and is available to support you in person. Before we continue with this time of gathering and worship, we have a sacrament of announcements. Soul care packages are available to whomever feels called to explore the theme of nourishing beauty more deeply this month. We have boxes of curated activities geared toward children 4 and 10 and boxes geared towards ages 11 and up. Each box offers at least 4 hours of family-centered faith formation beyond Sunday mornings.
The UU Rally for the Poor People's Campaign on May 4th. Everyone's got a right to live. Join UU leaders across the country as they commit to join the Mass Poor People and Low-Wage Workers Assembly, a moral march on Washington and to the polls on Saturday, June 18th in Washington, D.C. Now is the time that we live out our faith for building a moral fusion movement and take action for our collective future.
In case you missed it this morning, the pagan group celebrated Beltane this morning. I want to thank Kathleen Reedy for running that program. And if you missed it and you are embracing an earth-centered faith, do connect with Kathleen Reedy after service, or you can find her in the directory online, and there's still time for summer solstice. So know there's another opportunity coming up. Cedar Lane is co-sponsoring also Drums, Diverse, Revolutionary, Unitarian, Universalist, Multicultural Ministries Worship on Wednesday, May 4th at 8:30 p.m. The theme is You Can Count on This with the Reverend Tyler Coles and music artist Zenadia Robles. Let me tell you something, Tyler can preach, so you are in for a treat if you attend that service.
And now I would like to take a moment to introduce you to our worship leaders today. Connor McCricker, Maggie Clarkson, and Alex DelSol. These youth are compassionate, contemplative, and authentic individuals. They're beams of light, quick to lend a hand, offer a shoulder, and rise to the occasion. And they never cease to amaze me. Every conversation is rich with perspectives. Even when the youth don't agree, they listen without reservations, judgment, or shame. They remain open to being understanding and try to find common ground. They recognize that you can't get someone to change their views by fighting against them, but you can learn from each other when you lead with grace and kindness. Because today is May Day, the youth wanted to lift up Beltane, a pagan celebration of fertility, when spring starts to thaw out and feel like summer. One symbol associated with Beltane is yellow flowers. Later in the service, we will be planting marigolds because they are universally used throughout various religious cultures around the world and are attracted to pollinators, symbolizing our deep interdependence to each other and the environment. Let us greet and welcome each other.
Thank you.
Must come together as one. There are people dying, and it's time to lend a hand to life, the greatest gift of all. We can go on, pretending day by day that someone somewhere will soon make a change. We are all a part of God's great big family, and the truth, you know, love is all we need. We are the world, we are the children, we are the ones to make a brighter day, so let's start giving. There's a choice we're making, we're saving our own lives. It's true, we make better days, just you and me. Send them your heart, so they know that someone cares, and their lives will be stronger and free. As God has shown us, by turning stone to bread, so we all must lend a helping hand. We are the world, we are the children, we are the ones to make a brighter day, so let's start giving. There's a choice we're making, we're saving our own lives. It's true, we make better days, just you and me. When you're down and out, there seems no hope at all. But if you just believe, there's no way we can fall. Let us realize that a change will only choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. It's true, we make better days, just you and me. We are the world. We are the children. We are the ones to make a brighter day, so let's start giving. There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. It's true, we make better days, just you and me. We are the world. We are the children. We are the ones to make a brighter day, so let's start giving. There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. It's true, we make better days, just you and me. We are the world. We are the children. We are the ones to make a brighter day, so let's start giving. There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. It's true, we make better days, just you and me.
It's true, we make better days, just you and me.
Wind, Water, Sun by Seth Carrier Ladd. Wind that whispers through the willow trees, sun that sustains us, water that washes over willing earth and weathered stones, a smile shared and savored. The quiet joy of gathered community. This is the spirit of love, of life and love that we call forth now into this gathering. May the Spirit infuse our hearts, fill our souls, and carry us forward like a wave on the ocean as we enter now into this sacred time and space. Come, let us worship together.
Good morning. I am Maggie Clarkson. My pronouns are she, her, the worship associate for today's service. As Connor McCrickard kindles our chalice, please share in the chat where you are lighting your chalice from. Please rise in body and/or in spirit to share the chalice lighting words. The earth is warming, the birdsong increases, the sweeter breezes brush our cheeks, and the earth holds hope in its seeds and buds. Come, let us gather this morning with joyful noise, with warm hearts, and with hopeful spirits, for we are one with the renewal of the earth and blessedly held in the love of one another.
Hey, Connor, could you help me open the Wonder Box? Go around. I wonder what could be in there today on this Beltane day. What is that?
It's a fairy.
A fairy?
A fairy? Be careful with that. Today is the day that some people believe the veil between the fairy world and our world is the thinnest. And fairies are known to cause mischief.
And you know, that reminds me of a story that my ancestors, the Scottish pagan people, called Thomas the Rhymer. So let's tell this version of that story that is found in Starhawk's book, Circle Round. Does that sound like a good idea?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. Once upon a time, a long, long time ago, on May Day, or Beltane, a man named Thomas laid himself down in the shade of a hawthorn tree. A hawthorn tree is sometimes known as a May tree. So he laid down on May Day under a May tree. I think some mischief's about to happen. Shaded from the midday sun and lulled by the buzz of the bees and the sweet scents of the blooming flowers, he fell asleep.
Suddenly, the sound of bells woke him up, and before him was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen, on a white horse with silver bells woven into its mane. She was so beautiful, he was sure she was a goddess from heaven. But when he bowed to her, she laughed and said, "I'm not a goddess. I am the queen of Elfland, who has come to visit with you. And now you must come with me and serve me for 7 years."
So Thomas rode on the back of her horse, and they rode off faster and faster, until Thomas thought they were as fast as wind itself. They rode on and on and on, until Thomas lost all sense of time and direction. The air was bright with the silvery glow of twilight, and his ears were filled with the roar of the sea. Finally, they slowed to a trot in a peaceful meadow, and Thomas asked if they might pick some fruit to eat.
"Oh no, Thomas," said the fairy queen. "Don't eat that fruit from that tree. We are in Elfland, and this food is too strong for mortal humans. Instead, I will give you some food to eat, and when you are done, I will show you 3 wonders." So after eating his fill, he put his head on the fairy's lap and closed his eyes and opened his mind's eye.
First, she showed him a wide, broad road. On this road, he could see people dancing and good food and drinks everywhere. Pleasure and luxury were on full display. "That road," she said, "is the easy road, the one that most people take." When Thomas looked closer, he could see people pushing and shoving to get to the next pleasure. No matter how much they ate, they were always hungry for more. As soon as they had one pleasure, they would be in search of the next. Some were loading their necks so full of jewelry they couldn't even lift their heads. Others were piling on so many fancy clothes and accessories that they couldn't even move.
Then the fairy queen showed him another road. This road was narrow, very narrow. It was barely wide enough for one person, and it was lined with briars and thorn bushes that grew so closely that anyone who walked down this road would get scratched and bloodied. "Some call this the road of the righteous," said the fairy queen, "but look closer." As Thomas looked closer, he noticed the people walking down this road were getting thinner and thinner until they became skeletons. They were starved for life.
Finally, the fairy queen of Elfland showed Thomas a 3rd path. This path was a beautiful road that wound along the green hills. The road was neither too wide nor too narrow. It was lined with apple trees and rose bushes and berry hedges. "This, my friend," she said, "is the road to Elfland, where you will stay and serve me for the next 7 years. If you stay silent and serve me well, I will send you back to earth with many gifts, a tongue that cannot tell a lie, and a voice to sing the wonders of Elfland and share the glory of Elfland with all the world.
And so it happened that Thomas served his 7 years and spoke not a word, but carefully observed all the beauty and wonders of Elfland. In Elfland, nothing fades or dies, for all things exist there only in their unchanging true forms. The flower that you pick in Elfland is not a rose of earth that droops and fades, but the essence of rosiness itself. No creature of the living earth can stay too long in Elfland, because life is change. We, people, must constantly change or cease to be.
When 7 years had passed, Thomas returned to the human world with a true tongue and sung all of the beauty he saw and experienced in Elfland.
And he shared this message with whoever would listen. If you ever tire of the good green earth, if you ever need to dip into the well of magic and drink deep, if you ever need a healing that can only come from beyond time, remember the instructions of true Thomas. Pass by the broad, broad road and the narrow road. Look for the third road. Follow it with a generous heart, and you too may come to fair Elfland. May it be so.
Let us center ourselves and enter into this moment, calling upon all the sources of love that are within, among, and around us. We gather in sacred space across time and space, a sanctuary amid the many challenges of life, a center from which we may gather strength to face these challenges with courage and hope, faith, and love. Within our Cedar Lane community, we hold in our hearts all who are sick with COVID-19, loving someone with COVID-19, or caring for someone with COVID-19. On Saturday, May 7th at 2 p.m., join us as we gather in person and online to remember longtime Cedar Lane member Meg Kotler. And on Saturday, May 21st, from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., we gather to celebrate Rick Lohmeyer's life with the dedication of a redbud tree planted in his honor by the EJM and AV teams. Our caring extends beyond Cedar Lane to those whose lives are lost and those whose lives are impacted by violence, calamities, and the COVID-19 pandemic in our nation and in our world. We continue to join in solidarity with so many around the world and pray for the people of Ukraine. Our hearts go out to those who are enduring devastating loss of life, violence, and displacement, and pray for an immediate end to war. May these friends of ours, our companions in the world, and all the joys and sorrows we hold in our hearts be held in the embrace of silence. As we enter this silence together, those who are mourning the loss or marking the anniversary of a loss of a loved one are invited to rise in body and/or in spirit and share their names in the chat.
Please join me in a time of prayer. Infinite Spirit, sometimes called Grandfather, Grandmother, Father Sky, Earth Mother, Creator, we gather to praise your creation, to honor the swimmers and crawlers, the four-leggeds and the winged ones. We give thanks for the beauty and glory of creation and open our hearts to new ways to understand our place in the universe. Not the center of focus, but a humble and balanced place, where every step we take becomes a prayer, where every word we say makes harmony with the vast, vibrating cosmos, and where we know we are singing the song of life. We pray to know more deeply that we are in the garden where every plant and animal and speck of dust is a living prayer. Without our beloved siblings of the plant and animal and mineral kingdoms, the human family would end. So we want to bless them as they bless us. We pray for humility, not to humble ourselves before presidents or priests, but before the ants and trees. For if we cannot be in true relation to the ant, we shall be outcasts of the garden. Let us cast the pollution from our eyes so we can see the glory and live with thanksgiving. Great Spirit, let us remember that it is not how we talk, but how we walk. When we say we love animals, let us protect them. When we say that we love the plant people, let us honor them by living lightly on the earth. When we say we love the minerals, let us use them only in necessity and remember their rightful places. Oil belongs in the ground, not in the air through our wasteful machines. Wondrous trees, breathing life into the atmosphere, your gifts of fire and shelter, fruit and sailing are precious to us, and in many ways you offer us leaves of knowledge. May the vision of mutual interrelatedness, cosmic interdependence, the seamless process of generations, not end in cough-filled skies blotting the sun, but rather may clear air, healthy forests, wholesome water, expansive prairie, and pungent earth nourish plants for all creatures through mountain and valley, and the salt sea, and through a protective atmosphere, as we rejoice in the inhabitants. Hear and empower our mantra, reduce, reuse, recycle. With thanks for the surprise and mystery of it all, we pray in the name of the Creator, the process and presence, and all our relations.
Every Sunday during worship, we take up an offering. It's good to remind ourselves from time to time that the offering is symbolic as well as practical. We know that it is through financial giving that we build our budget and fund our mission and ministries of worship, religious education, pastoral care, social justice, pay our staff and professional religious leaders, and finance the comfort and beauty of our buildings and grounds. We pass the plate during our worship to make a community expression of gratitude for the blessing of abundance, to visibly bring in the harvest at this most cherished hour of our week. Our offering says that the act of giving is as essential to our spiritual well-beings as anything else we do here on Sunday mornings. We are grateful for the incredible generosity of our members and friends throughout this time in support of our mission and ministry, and the many community organizations that we partner with in service of our mission. Today, we share the plate with Extinction Rebellion. Extinction Rebellion is a decentralized, international, and politically nonpartisan movement using nonviolent direct action and civil disobedience to persuade governments to act justly on the climate and ecological emergency. Our very own peers, Eleanor and Rosie Clemens Pope, have participated in direct actions with connection with climate activists. Last week, Reverend Dayna asked how you might deepen your connection with climate activists. Today, you have an opportunity to do just that. Support a group who is putting their bodies on the line to stand up to the government and demand change. Collectively, as we share our resources, we can make a difference. There are many ways to give at Cedar Lane. You can give by the electronic means of our modern times: text, online giving, PayPal, QR code, or by mailing a check to the church. Today's offering will now be greatly received.
5, De Colores.
All the colors, yes, the colors we see in the springtime with all of its flowers. All the colors, when the sunlight shines out through a rift in the cloud and it showers. All the colors, as a rainbow appears when a storm cloud is touched by the sun. All the colors abound for the whole world around and for everyone under the sun. All the colors, yes, the colors of people parading on by with their banners. All the colors, yes, the colors of pennants and streamers and blues and bandanas. All the colors, yes, the colors of people now taking their place in the sun. All the colors abound for the whole world around and for everyone under the sun. All the colors, yes, the black and the white and the red and the brown and the yellow. All the colors of people who smile and shake hands and say hello. All the colors, yes, the colors of people who know that their freedom is won. All the colors abound for the whole world around and for everywhere under the sun. De colores se visten los campos en la primavera. De colores son los villancicos que vienen de afuera. De colores es el arcoíris que vemos lucir. Por eso los grandes amores de muchos colores me gustan a mí.
Even though they are edible, someone decided that dandelions are weeds, stragglers to destroy, to uproot. But dandelions never got the memo, never thought to care. Busy instead with dropping roots, flinging seeds, unfurling shoots, and persistent in digging in that taproot to depths of 2 or 3 average adults end to end, the tiny yellow flower survives. You are no less resilient, reaching both down to the strength that holds you and up to the light, out with your beauty. And you know, having sunk your efforts into the cool, damp earth, that while dandelions can be clipped and fought, uninvested in anyone's opinion, they throw their sparkling futures on the wind, tomorrow tucked into seeds, and grow all the way back, strong and bowing at the very same time.
There's something eerie and wonderful about weeds. Their ingenuity, speed, and almost supernatural tenacity and resourcefulness. British nature writer Richard Mabey calls them shapeshifters. Most weeds ensure their survival through adaptability, sliding up a size or down a shade of color and enduring an astounding level of adversity. Like the dandelion, for example. The dandelion is a hardy perennial plant that can grow under the most challenging of circumstances. often making its home in extremely unlikely situations like concrete cracks. Then, just as there's something eerie and wonderful about weeds. Their ingenuity, speed, and almost supernatural tenacity and resourcefulness. British nature writer Richard Mabey calls them shapeshifters. Most weeds ensure their survival through adaptability, sliding up a size or down a shade of color and enduring an astounding level of adversity. Like the dandelion, for example. The dandelion is a hardy perennial plant that can grow under the most challenging of circumstances, often making its home in extremely unlikely situations like concrete cracks. Then, just as their vibrancy begins to fade, the white puffy seedlings are carried by the breeze, eventually landing and nesting and creating a whole new generation of dandelions. Also, the tender green leaves are a tasty and healthy addition to a salad, or can be dried and boiled as tea. The blossoms are sometimes used to make wine. The flower is a rich source of vitamins and minerals, and it is used as an herbal remedy, like in India, for liver complaints and as a diuretic. A dandelion's moxie is a wonderful metaphor for human resilience. In her book, Emergent Strategy, Adrienne Marie Brown writes, "The dandelion's strength is its resistance. It looks like a weed and it is often aggressively removed. They're hard to uproot. The top is pulled, but long taproots remain. They are a force of resilience and resistance. They regenerate and are a representation of decentralized power." I love that. That sounds like hope. Real hope is hard to kill. Real hope doesn't demand a powerful position. It can work from the seams and the margins and the cracks. In the face of opposition, real hope doesn't shrink. It regenerates. It is reborn in a different space. It's a new beginning. The resilience of the dandelion should be a spiritual challenge to our hearts. So let us, like dandelions, practice resilience. Let us reach down to the strength that holds us and up to the light, out with our beauty. Let us be resourceful, adaptive, tenacious, deeply rooted, throwing our sparkling futures on the wind, growing all the way back, strong and bowing, saying yes to life again and again and again.
What a world there can be if we imagine, if we share, if we care, if we act. What a world there can be if we are indivisible in heart and make the most of our one shot. Let us trust that the seed we plant in time will flourish, and that we can create the tipping points for a better future, for our children's children and the great web of life on earth. Let us make a new start. So may it be. Amen.
Thank you, Alex, for those lovely words. And each youth chose one reading that spoke to them and asked each of us ministers to respond to that reading. And so that is what we are doing this morning. When Alex shared with me this reading, the first thing I thought of was one shot. One shot. And then, of course, I thought of my favorite musical, Hamilton, which I've heard from my own 15-year-old is now cringy and uncool. So forgive me. But in the musical, he says, I'm not throwing away my shot. I'm not throwing away my shot. Just like my country, I'm young, scrappy, and hungry, and I'm not throwing away my shot. I love that line. I love that musical. Did you know that Alexander Hamilton was 21 when he signed the Constitution? Which means he was actually in his teens when he was planning the American Revolution with his comrades in arms, who were also of a similar age. Thomas Jefferson was 33. So young people brought the American Revolution to be. And he didn't throw away his shot. Just like these young people behind me, he was full of young ideas, full of optimism, full of ambition, full of, if they just did this, we could change the world. So let's go do it. And he, Alexander Hamilton, rose from a person with no social standing or power to be one of the signers of the Constitution and the founder of the American financial system. He did not throw away his shot. But let's think about this deeper together, this narrative we have in the United States that was perpetuated by Hamilton and then also by Lin-Manuel Miranda, this idea that we only get one shot and we have to make the most of it. For those on the precipice of applying for colleges or deciding where to work after graduation, it can feel so heavy, like you really do only have this one shot. And that is a lot to hold. Or maybe those of you with more life experience in the room are now watching and listening and thinking about maybe that one shot that you missed. Thinking about 20 years ago when you failed out of med school or didn't pass the bar, or got an injury and couldn't go into professional sports, even after you had trained all those years. Did you miss your one shot? In my life experience, I've learned that the idea that we only get one shot is a myth. It's a myth of American culture. For example, when I garden, I never put down one seed in the ground and call it a day, right? I always plant several, knowing that some will grow and flourish, and others will dissolve into the soil and become nutrients for the growing seedlings. And because we're celebrating our youth this morning, who are 15 and 16, finishing out their sophomore years in high school, thinking about taking the SATs, thinking about where they might apply to colleges, I wanted to share this story about my own application process and my one shot I was pretty sure that I missed. So my first choice of school was George Washington University. And my second choice of school was American University. I was going to be a politician. I was a congressional page when I was 16, and I came down to DC and fell in love, and I knew that this is what I wanted to do. I was going to change the world from the inside through the legislative process. Yes! That was my one shot. But I got rejected from GW. And I thought I had lost my one shot at being a high-powered politician in DC. In my 17-year-old city girl brain, AU, American University, which is actually just down the street, right? AU was too far away from downtown. It just seemed so far removed from where all the action was. But I did attend AU, and I actually got to take class in the Situation Room in the White House. I was taught by Julian Bond and James Foreman, who were civil rights leaders who came to American University to teach the next generation of organizers. I had an amazing time. That was my shot. But after I finished my degree in American, I applied to graduate school, and guess where I applied? GW. And I got in. And that still wasn't my one shot. 20 years later, I heeded my call to ministry, and I went to school again. And the college path isn't for everyone. But many of us in this room could tell the same story about jobs, romantic partners, decisions about child rearing, friendships, places you've lived. There is no one shot. You get many shots in life. You get many shots in life. And your life will become a garden of the many, many seeds that you will grow and that will grow within you. As your reading so gently guides us, Alex, our lives become gardens of the seeds we plant, which will flourish over time. Take as many shots as you need to live a full life, because we're not living in a basketball game. We are tending to the gardens of our lives. May it be so.
A seed knows how to wait. Most seeds will wait for several years before starting to grow. A cherry seed can wait for 100 years with no problem. What exactly each seed is waiting for is known only to that seed. Some unique trigger combination of temperature, moisture, light, and many other things is required to convince a seed to jump off the deep end and take its chance. Its one and only chance to grow. A seed is alive while it waits. Every acorn on the ground is just as alive as the 300-year-old oak tree that towers over it. Neither the seed nor the old oak is growing. They are both just waiting. When you are in the forest, for every tree that you see, there are no less than 3 million more trees waiting in the soil, fervently wishing to be. When the embryo within a seed starts to grow, it basically just stretches out of its doubled over waiting posture, elongating into official ownership of the form that it assumed years ago. The hard coat that surrounds a peach pit, a sesame or mustard seed, or a walnut shell mostly exists to prevent this expansion. In the laboratory, we simply scratch the hard coat and add a little water, and it's enough to make almost any seed grow. I must have cracked thousands of seeds over the years, and yet the next day's green never fails to amaze me. Something so hard can be so easy if you just have a little help. In the right place, under the right conditions, you can finally stretch out into what you're supposed to be. Each beginning is the end of a waiting. We are each given exactly one chance to be. Each of us is both impossible and inevitable. Every replete tree was first a seed that waited.
Thank you so much, Connor, Maggie, and Alex. We come together as Unitarian Universalists each Sunday, not just to think about big ideas, but to figure out how to do this thing called life together. And man, I don't know about you all, but I've certainly had a lot of moments these past few years where I've felt a lot like that white dandelion seed blowing in the breeze, just waiting to land on something solid. And as Unitarian Universalists, we can't just believe whatever we want. We are charged with doing theological work in the everyday. And what you chose to do today is to take a look at Beltane, to take a look at one of our sources as Unitarian Universalists, to engage with it through poetry, through personal experience, to try to make meaning of this thing called life to do theology and to share with us something real and tangible to hold on to, and something that you can hold on to that's real and tangible. I'd like to invite the ushers to come forward, please, and to begin passing out this something tangible to hold on to. So if you all can please accept and receive the cup that the ushers are passing. There's going to be a ritual in just a few moments led by our youth. Wherever you are on this life's journey, wherever you are, whether you are that fluffy white seed being blown hither and thither, or whether you are that cherry seed deep within the earth, just waiting for the right amount of water, the right amount of sunlight, the right amount of whatever it is that you need to become that which is already programmed within you, that is already stirring within your being to come into life. Whatever it is, know that you are resting in something real, something as tangible as the earth itself, something as tangible as this religious community. Rest, wait, and know that you are not waiting alone. May it be so. Amen, and blessed be.
How amazing is it, after patiently waiting for over 2 years, while using an abundance of caution until this auspicious moment, when we get to celebrate with our youth again.
These times have been trying for everybody's body and spirit. Yet our youth continue to show extraordinary amounts of empathy and resilience. Truly, they do. This learned caution has led the way to greater compassion, as our youth have learned new ways to communicate and overcome the challenges that have arisen from the unknown.
Today, we will co-create a meditative communion experience. We honor our interconnectedness to the complex web of all existence, to our one and only planet Earth, our communities, our neighbors encompassing all living beings, and most importantly, our youth.
So now I invite you to sit comfortably if you can. Rest your feet flat on the floor. Straighten your spine. Soften your gaze. Relax your hands and take a deep breath in. Exhale slowly and let your shoulders relax as you breathe out.
As you inhale again, think about the cool air warming as it enters your lungs, and the oxygen that enters your lungs that comes from the plants, the trees, the grass, the moss, and the flowers around you.
As you exhale the carbon dioxide from within you that is being absorbed by those very same plants. These gases and elements inhaled and exhaled cyclically for over 4 billion years. Every breath inhaled by our ancestors and exhaled by our descendants. Breathe into that interdependence.
I invite you to imagine that you are a marigold in a garden of deep, fertile soil. With plentiful sunlight, by a clear, clean stream, with clay banks and a silty bottom. Soil is the place where all life began, where new life can start, and where all life ends. There's a warm, gentle wind as you hear the stream flowing in the background. If we wish for a better, cleaner, healthier earth, the responsibility falls on all of us. Taking care of the earth is a type of self-care to ensure that clean air and water are available for the health and well-being of all.
It is said that when a flower does not bloom, you should change the soil it grows in rather than blame the flower. How a seed grows depends on the myriad of components. Among them, the most important ones are sunshine and water and soil. Gardeners mix and measure dirt, mud, sand, clay, and compost to create a conglomeration they hope to be fruitful. They know what nutrients each plant needs and what type of soil will work best for each plant.
Gaining new life experiences is a lot like mixing soil. We research, we remember what worked and what didn't, and we try, and try again until we get the mix just right. And when things don't go quite as planned, we reuse, we recycle, repurpose, and transform it into compost. Embracing our disappointments and hardships and setbacks are all important parts of our soil. While it may not always feel good, self-awareness and personal growth are imperative. Without failing, could you ever appreciate success? Without rain, could the flower ever achieve true growth?
Feel yourself, feel how you can be rooted right here where you are, in compassion or love or whatever aspect you choose. Feel your roots, and feel your roots intermingling with the roots of the trees and plants and people around you. Feel how all of us are reaching our roots out to one another, how we each can be blossoms and fruits of love and compassion and joy and understanding and more. Feel into what it means to be interconnected, interdependent with every being on this planet. Then let it go with trust and gratitude. And on your next breath, I invite you to feel your feet grounded to the floor, come back into your body, and when you feel ready, come back into the space of this sanctuary.
When you feel ready, open your eyes and hold your cup filled with soil. Or if you're joining us online, I invite you to envision yourself holding a cup with soil. This cup represents our community, the container that holds all of us. It keeps us safe and secure with love, peace, and spirit. A place where seeds can grow roots that hold and grow deep. With your real or imagined cup in your hands, think of positive thoughts, affirmations, or hopes and wishes for our youth. You may say a word into the space or write a word in the chat for our youth. Now, if you're willing and able, I invite you to place your blessed dirt into one of our pots by coming down the center aisle to this table and pouring your dirt into one of the 3 pots, and then returning to your seat by using the side aisles. I think you're actually going to have to go back through the middle. And if you need any assistance, please raise your hand, and Rev Katie will retrieve your dirt and place it for you.
We have our containers filled with our life experiences, rich with sustenance and the nurturing of your beloved community. With our containers filled with the microbes of love and compassion and perseverance and understanding, it is finally time for us to plant our seeds.
All of us have many seeds within us, seeds of love, compassion, and gratitude, as well as seeds of apathy, ire, and despair. Part of the practice of living is watering and nourishing the seeds we want to flourish within us and the world around us. This congregation has given you the seeds of our Unitarian Universalist faith, and we hope that you water them.
So choose a seed inside of you right now that you want to nourish and grow. Empathy, peace, integrity, whatever is calling to you, and take a seed and place it in one of our pots.
Next to your first seed, make a hole and plant a second seed beside it. This is because we cannot do this work alone. None of us can. We are all in this together. With a little bit of water and sunlight, soon stems and leaves as tender as hope will sprout. Tiny little prayers in these strange times.
The large pots with the marigolds will be planted in our butterfly garden over in between the two parking lots. And each of you may take a pot home with you as a reminder of your growth and your beloved community in this last year. May it be so. Go ahead and take one.
This is the sound of one voice, one spirit, one voice, the sound of one who makes a choice. This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound of voices too, the sound of me singing with you, helping each other to make it through. This is the sound of voices too. This is the sound of voices too. This is the sound of voices three, singing together in harmony, surrendering to the mystery. This is the sound of voices three. This is the sound of voices three. This is the sound of all of us, singing with love and the will to trust. Leave the rest behind, it'll turn to dust. This is the sound of all of us. This is the sound of all of us.
This is the sound of one voice. One people, one voice. A song for every one of us. This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound of one voice.
Blessed by Our Connections by Susan Carlson. We leave blessed by our connections to one another, to the Spirit of life. Walk lightly so that you see the life that is below your feet. Spread your arms as if you had wings and could dance through the air. Feel the joy of your breath in your lungs and the fire in your heart. Live to love and be a blessing on this earth. Go in peace.